Guys, hope all of you are doing well today. In this video, we'll be taking a look at factors, and we actually need to know this stuff before getting into equivalent factors and just operations with factors. So let's get into the video so we know that. Okay, so factors. So right now I'm going to tell you a basic definition of factors so you guys can understand. So let's just say n represents any integer value. So integers meaning it can be whole, it has to be whole numbers. It can be either positive or negative. So a factor of n, any number, or n, is any number that divides n, whatever number it is, without any remainder. Okay, that's the basic definition. And when we're dealing with factors, factors have to be whole numbers, not fractions. I'm talking about the actual factors itself. We need factors when we're dealing with certain parts in certain topics in fractions, but factors itself are not fractions. You'll know what I mean when I show you examples. And factors can be any whole numbers. It could be negative numbers. It could be positive numbers, but they have to be whole numbers. And factors can't be greater than the number or the any number you're looking at. I'll show you an example right now. So for example, 6, for example, we got to see what numbers, if we divide 6 by, or 6 with, will give us a value without any remainder. So as if you already know, 6 divided by 1 will give you 6. 6 divided by 2 will give you 3. 6 divided by 3 will give you 2. No remainder. 6 divided by 6 will give you 1. So you guys already, so these 4 numbers would be considered as factors of 6 because they divide 6 evenly without any remainder at all. Same for 36. So I've listed all of the factors or all the numbers that 36, if you divide 36 with, you'll get no remainder. And see how the last number I wrote was just the number itself, because factors can't be greater than the number itself. What can is multiples, but we'll look at that in the next video. So you can see, I don't know if you can see this, but this is just 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 9, 12, 18, 36. You can see that well in the camera. So these are factors of 36. So if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments so I can get to them as soon as possible. So now we're going to deal with common factors between 2 or sometimes more numbers, because you will often get that in fractions. So common factors, it's in the word itself, is when you're looking at the factors between 2 different numbers or 2 different integers, what factors or what numbers are common between the 2. And you need to know this because in fractions, you will be asked maybe on your test or on an assignment to simplify the fraction. So they'll give you, so you'll solve the question and then they'll ask you to simplify it. So we need to know how to simplify it. So in order to know that, we should know this first. That's why I'm including this in the series. So common factors between two or more numbers. So well, I'll teach you first how to find common factors first, and then we'll look at something called greatest common factor, which is what we actually need for this thing. And then, so we'll pick 2 numbers. Should we pick what number? 6 and 8. So what divides into this without any remainders? We know 6. We know 2, because 6 divided by 1, I've already said that before. And then 8, we know 1 divides even perfectly. 2 comes, 3 doesn't, 4, and 8 itself. So these are 4 factors. So what is common here? If you already know, in this case, 2 and 1. Both are common. In some cases, there could be even more than that are common between 2 numbers. But since we chose easy ones for you guys to understand, there are 2 common factors here. And so this is how common factors is pretty easy finding them. So we need to know the greatest common factor, because when you're simplifying fractions, you would need to divide your numerator and denominator by the largest number possible in order to simplify it. Like if you divide 20 by 5 and 20 by 10, you will notice that 20 by 5 gives you 4 and 20 divided by 10 gives you 2. When you're simplifying, you're trying to look for the lowest number possible, lowest into simple terms as possible. So the lowest number is here, but that is achieved only when we divide our 20 by 10, right? So that's why we need, that is the importance of greatest common factor. So first thing to do when you're simplifying fractions, or I'll explain simplifying fractions later on in the series, but this is one of the important steps to get there. So what would be the greatest common factor here? 2. 6 divided by 2, because 6 divided by 1 would give us 6. How about, let me erase this for you so you guys understand. But I hope all of you guys understood why we need the greatest common factor when we're trying to simplify something into its simplest form. I'll just try to erase this for you. Okay, so when we divide 6 by 1, we get 6. But when we divide 6 by 2, you get 3. So we've made it into a more smaller number than this. So that is the significance of the greatest common factor. And it doesn't have to be these numbers, it could be any number. It could be 16 and 18, where factors would change a bit. Hold up, thank you. Okay. 16 and 18, you'd be divides evenly into 4 by 4. Yeah, same. For this one, it could be different numbers, but I guess I chose something where the greatest common factor again is 1 and 2. But you will, as long as you know your basic division, you should be fine for this. But you get the idea. So you would first write the numbers like this. Then you would see which numbers when divided by this number will evenly divide without any remainder. So you would list it like this. And then later you would list it like this, and then you would compare the common ones. You would circle the common, you would figure out which ones are common. You would maybe take it like this. And then you would just circle which one is the greatest in the list. Now, unfortunately, I chose another example where 1 and 2 are the common factors and where 2 is the greatest common factor. But you'll get the idea as you keep on practicing. And I've already explained to you what greatest common factor is. So it's the common between 2 or sometimes more numbers. It's the common factor which is great. It's common, and it's also the greatest or the highest number in that list or set of numbers. If you understand, if that makes sense. So although it's so you'll know that even though it's not the highest number in the list, it's the highest and the common one between 16 and 18. See, you wouldn't see any similar numbers here. These two are the only similar ones, and out of those two, this one is the greatest and the one that's the same for both of them. So that's the greatest common factor. I hope I explained it to you as well as possible, and we will go on in the next video. We will learn about lowest common multiple, because we need to know that when we're looking at equivalent fractions and operations with operations meaning adding and subtracting. So let's get to the next video. Thank you.